Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Jeanne Gallagher with Discover Rising Tides, and I'm here with Denise Stegall, our longevity concierge, and we're probably having too much fun before the podcast started, so things could get a little
Hi, Jean.
silly. We're continuing our which is appropriate because we're continuing our conversation on happiness and joy. So it's okay to be silly in this conversation. And before our last segment, we talked about three different areas that we should focus on to bring us happiness and joy. And we talked about laughter and being lighthearted. And Denise's always eat real food, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your goal
Just
is,
eat
eat
real
real
food.
food, just do it. And movement, get up and do something. And so now we're going to talk about the next topics. What are they, Denise? Get us started.
Okay, so happiness kind of comes and goes, right? We always kind of know that. And for too many people, it's about, the external circumstances and achievement or something you buy, you get a promotion and all that's great, right? And but what happens is like we feel it and we're happy, and then you kind of go back to like almost like a status quo. Joy is so much deeper than that. It's kind of taking all of those experiences and letting them just kind of accumulate. And so kind of I kind of think of it as like it's your secret sauce to transforming everyday life, which, with its ups and downs and everything, to simple moments where you're feeling like things are good, no matter what's going on, things are okay. Gabby Bernstein has a phrase that she uses very often, and it's like, all is well, all is well. And when I first heard that, I thought, all is well, but what if all is not well? When you think of it in these terms, all is well in your world. When you think of the big things, like things are good, yeah, I've got a little bit of an allergy thing going on. In the scheme of the world, it's like nothing, right?
As
So
my
what
dad would say, if that's the only bad thing that's going to happen, it's going to be a good day.
like so the best part of this, the top three, laughter, eat real food, movement, and the next three that we'll talk about, is joy is something that you can cultivate. It's not something that you just go joyful and just be joyful. It is, like I said, thinking about things in a little bit different way. So we talked 1, 2, and 3: laughter, eat real food, and foof. Eat real foof, everyone. Food and movement. Number 4 is do something you love on a regular basis. What is that activity that you're passionate about? That thing that instantly like boosts your mood and fulfills you and maybe gives you a sense of purpose. Painting, gardening, writing, anything that, even just, for me, like running outside. I can't do that at home half the year. So when I can do that, that's something that I love to do. Now, you can do something that you love alone, because sometimes people need that, especially if you're working and you're around people all day. Sometimes you kind of need that, thing that you love that's yours and yours only. Now, so like my mom, she loves gardening. She is a passionate gardener. When we used to live on Long Island, her garden was immaculate. It was a 1/4 acre of meadow and flower beds. It was absolutely gorgeous. The thing that she really appreciates, though, is she can see progress, right? She loves to go out and check, oh, this one's blooming and all that. And the smile that comes to her face when, a new, blossom is blooming, or last year when I was visiting, there was something that was growing that she hadn't even planted, and she was all excited to figure out what it was, right? So the cool thing about this is with doing things that you love, usually there's a little bit of a practice to it. It's not about like running toward the finish line, like, well, in my case, if I'm running, I'm obviously running towards something. But it's not about the final result. It's about doing and enjoying and experiencing.
One of the things that's challenging about that, finding the thing. So it's easy to say, do something you love. And it's easy to show examples and talk about that. But one of the things that I find is challenging in this world is that we are so ingrained in our job, and then we come home and we're ingrained in the routine, and then our face is stuck in the phone. And then there's really no opportunity for the brain to think outside of what we're doing. And I'm day 6 without social media. Can I just say that out
Oh,
loud? I know, right?
cabbage patch,
And you realize
aging
that how
myself.
many times, I know, seriously, and how many times you go to your phone to take time, take up
Mm,
time. And I
yeah.
noticed yesterday that I saw this stack of material that I bought last year to make some curtains for the Airstream, and it's in a bag. And but yesterday I thought, oh, I should do that. I haven't had one of those, oh, I should do that thoughts in a while, because I've just been in the rut.
I think a lot of times, it's spring, it's spring is coming. I think a lot of us get stuck in a rut in the winter, no
Mhm.
matter where you live. Even if you live where it's warm, it's still winter. We were down in Florida in November, December, and yeah, it was warm, but the sun still goes down at 4:30. Right. So there is definitely, I think most people experience seasonal affective disorder. And it does kind of put you in a lull, and definitely to put you in a rut. One of the things that I have found, and this kind of addresses the from work to home to phone, just to kind of, and this is when people sit scrolling, right? They have some time on their hands. They could do something productive like wash the dishes. That's boring. That has to get done another time. But this could be some time that you spend doing something you enjoy instead of scrolling. And if you're not sure what that thing is, this is a great opportunity to just kind of step back and start journaling, just writing things down. Like, what are the things you used to love to do?
Mm.
Think about when you were a teenager. What did you do? What were the things that excited you? Now, granted, I'm not going to go back to, the dance team. No, I could. There are dance teams for older women, middle-aged women. Um, but that's, my mom
That sounds like a
has a
viral video.
that would definitely be a viral video. I mean, I'm good with the pet cabbage patch in front of the camera. Um, my mom has a friend who, until recently, she's probably 87 now. She was in a tap dance group, and they used to travel. They used to perform. Um, so there's something for everyone. It is, you're right. It's about kind of reconnecting to who you are and what you like.
Mhm.
And it can definitely be a challenge if we've been stuck in that, work, home,
The journaling's a great,
relax.
yeah, the journaling's a great prompt to
Hmm.
change a habit, because you're going to be doing something different during that few minutes of scrolling time, but it also gives your mind practice to download.
Hmm. I love it. All right, so that's number 4. Number 5, surround yourself with a loving, supportive community. Now,
Mm.
for a lot of us, that can be our friends, but and our family, but really we want to look outside of the home environment, right? Because
Mhm.
if you have, and it's great if we have a loving, supportive environment at home, that's great, but then you never leave home, right? Joy flourishes with connection, and being part of a community gives you a sense of belonging. It enriches your life. You meet people with the same thoughts, feelings,
Mhm.
experiences. And a lot of times, especially um, women in mid-age, we kind of get to a place where we don't feel like we're understood at home, right? There are so many communities out there that where women can go to, men as well, where they feel heard, they feel seen. And I think that's really what is kind of missing in a lot of our communications
Mhm.
nowadays. Is they're virtual. Most of them are virtual. It's a text. If you still send cards, I got a lovely card from Jeanne the other day. I mean, people do that less and less, but happy birthday, it's a text message. No, it's not a call. It's, hey, let's meet up for your birthday. So I think that's one of the bigger challenges. Oh, excuse me 1 second.
Bless you.
Sorry. Big cough, big sneeze.
One of the
Um,
something that you said in that conversation that I think needs to be reset again because it was really wonderful is joy flourishes with connection.
yes.
Yeah, and I think I wanted that to be restated because that is everything that you're talking about.
Absolutely. Again, joy is something that you feel internally, right? Well, it can be something that, you feel internally because you have this group, wonderful group of people, this supportive group. Now, think about it. If this group is supporting you, you're supporting them too. So it
Mhm.
goes both ways, right? I know I have a friend, my BFF from high school. She joined a book club, and I kind of rolled my eyes. I was like, "You did?" Didn't seem like it was something that would ever be in her wheelhouse. She said, I wanted to read more. I wanted to get out of the house. Both of her kids are in college now. And she said before she realized it, she was enjoying books that she'd never thought, to read. She was connecting with women, mostly her age, where she'd been, kind of connected to a lot of women who had younger kids because she works at an elementary school. So again, like-minded things that she was
Mhm.
enjoying. And she said, she really has found that, there's almost magic in a community. When people come together with thoughts and ideas, your own thoughts and ideas grow.
Mhm.
All right, that's number 5. Number 6, do something for others. I don't know why I was clapping, but that made me excited. Selfless acts of kindness, um, they brighten somebody else's day, but they
Mhm.
also fill your own heart, right? Giving. We talk about the ripple effect. There's so many videos on social media, and every now and then I get stuck in watching the stupid reels because they're short,
Mhm.
but if you watch 10 of them in a row, that's 10
Not so
minutes you've
short.
wasted. Not so short. But they're about these stories where, people have just, given somebody something just because they could,
Mhm.
and maybe they saw somebody who needed. Well, the ones that always kill me are the little children in third world countries who don't have shoes, who are, whatever. And a young person who is visiting um goes and gives them their shoes. It's amazing when you think of, little kids do things like that. Very just it's in their nature. As we get older, we tend to stop doing that, or we don't do it as often because we kind of we get in our own heads like, oh, well, should I do that? Shouldn't I do that? Will people think of, how will it be accepted?
Mhm.
Just do something nice for someone, as someone you and I know very well, Fred with K Fred Radio, he always says, do act of kindness. It freaks people out. It kind of does in a way. It definitely freaks people out, but in a good way. Just the pure joy and relief and gratitude that somebody has when, you've paid for their coffee, right?
Mhm.
Or open the door. Oh, this kills me. Young people today, sorry, young people today, but if you're listening, I'm going to give you a little bit of a razz here. They don't open a door for the person behind them.
Mhm.
Or, you have an older woman coming, or older man walking towards a building, and they don't hold the door. Like, to me, that's common courtesy. Now that's a random act of
The
kindness,
act of
but just
kindness,
those little
right?
things,
But it is, but
right?
the example is important because it is the little things. It could be that you brought your neighbor the mail. It could be that you baked cookies and shared it. Or it doesn't mean that you have to go buy something or take somebody to lunch. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
monetary. It can be an act, or it could just be a gesture of
Mhm.
appreciation.
Absolutely. So I have a friend who was really struggling last year. She was in and out of the hospital for almost the entire year. And she had just sent a message to her community, telling people that what was going on. She has 5 kids at home, number 6 is in college, but she's got 5 kids at home and she homeschools them, and she just needed a little bit of support. So people would show up. I know I did this a couple of times. Like while I was cooking dinner, I would make some extra and bring it over to the house. I was making vegetarian chili, or I thought about it. So I made a vegetarian chili. I made 2 pots instead of one. Really simple, not a big deal, but to her, it was a big deal. And it was just the thought, and the appreciation. I mean, seriously, just the look on her face, the joy that it brought her brought me joy.
Exactly. And it is that you don't know what's going to come back at you. We
Mhm.
were talking, and when we were talking, we did the podcast with Susan Otten, and she hiked the Appalachian Trail, and she didn't do it just for herself. She did it to raise money for Parkinson's because her husband is
Yeah.
affected with a disease. And what she got out of that experience was so much more than she had expected. But she went into it with the intention of helping others, and she didn't realize how much she was going to help herself.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that the final thought that I have is joy isn't about waiting for life to basically hand you happiness
Mm,
or happiness to bring you joy. It's about making a decision, doing things, taking control of your life and your thoughts and doing
mm.
something to actually find that happiness and create that joy.
Mm, beautiful. Denise, thank you. This has been really, really important, and we need to hear it. And it being spring and a new season, getting ready for that, it's a great time.
It is. It's getting warm. Yay.
Hello, everyone. This is Jeanne Gallagher, Discover Rising Tides, and I want to just take a moment to talk about my friend, Denise Stegall. I am honored to call her as a friend, and I'm so grateful that she gives us her insight during our shows, each show, and talks about healthy living, eating real food. You hear Denise say, eat real food a lot. Well, she means it, and she knows what she's talking about. She is an amazing healthy living coach, curator at Living Healthy List. And if you ever have any questions about what is real food, why does it matter? How does that apply to me? How do I change? What do I need to do? How do I even create a healthy living shopping list? Make sure that you call her. She is your healthy living coach, and you can find her at healthylivinglist.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. I am Jeanne Gallagher, and I'm here with Denise Stegall, our longevity concierge.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Denise. I love saying
I'm back.
concierge. And we're all a little silly today because we're talking about happiness. We just finished talking about happiness and joy, and we're going to talk about happiness and choices, right? And choosing to be
Yes.
happy, maybe.
Yes, things you can. Yes. Um,
So tell us about it.
so so many of my clients come to me and the first thing, they're unhappy. They're frustrated with how they look. They're exhausted because of the way they feel. They feel weighed down because they're overwhelmed and they feel like they have no sense of fulfillment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, most of my, but midlife, I mean, all through life, but really midlife throws curveballs at us all the time. Um, the challenge that I put upon these women is that or that these women have is they don't actually realize that they have the power to break free from this cycle of unhappiness, no joy, and create their own life that's vibrant, purposeful, satisfying. Um, Again, joy and happiness, they go together, and it's really happiness, joy. Happiness is, kind of how you feel in the moment. Um, but think about it. It's about the choices that we make every day that actually can bring us a step closer to happiness. step closer to happiness, step closer to joy, right? We can feel happiness in the moment. I just ate a donut. Actually, didn't you just eat a donut? But here's an example. I ate a donut. I feel happy in the moment. I just got my sugar high, right? In the long term, I'm
Not
going to
so
have
happy because the sugar high
not
goes
so
away
happy. I'm going
quickly.
to have a sugar dip, right? And I'm going to feel tired and lethargic. And if my goal in life or whatever is to maintain a healthy weight, did that donut, if it's one donut, not a big deal. If it's a dozen donuts, how did that donut affect my ability to be happy and experience joy because I've maintained my healthy weight? Or for those women in midlife who want to lose weight, people will say, oh, it's just a donut, it's no big deal. These decisions add up because it's a donut today and it's a cookie tomorrow. And, little things like that add up. It's something like an extra calorie a day. And I because I talk about food so much, I always have a food reference. An extra calorie a day over the course of the year, right? Or over the course of 10 years is almost 10 pounds of weight gain.
Wow.
And I've done the number, and I know I've done the numbers in my head, or actually my husband's done the numbers in his head. But think about that. Like just one, so if we're having a donut and that brings us over our calorie allotment that's good for our body, right? Each one of us is different. That's where we see, weight gain just kind of creep up,
It
especially as
creeps
we
up
get
over
older.
time, and then all of a sudden you look back and you go, holy cow, what just happened?
Yeah, what just happened started 10 years ago.
Right.
Right.
And
So
it comes down to choices.
it does.
There we
It
are.
comes down to it's really the byproduct of those choices, right? Big or small, short-term gratification, long-term happiness, joy. Right. So that
So
I think is
what
really
kind of
important.
choices can really bring us contentment and the joy that we should be looking for?
I think this is different for everyone. So choices, again, if you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle, or if you want to start a healthy lifestyle, choices like having a piece of fruit over a bag of chips. It doesn't have to be these huge things. If you want to look huge thing, do you buy, you need a new car, okay? Say you need a new car. Do you buy the $150,000 car that looks really freaking cool? Or do you buy the $50,000 car, which is still pretty cool, but you can afford better, right? What's going to make you, when it comes to that choice, which choice do you make? They're both in the short term going to make you happy. Will one of them make you happier? That's the question to ask yourself. Will this decision make me happy? And I think it's something we can actually ask ourselves in anything. If it's a relationship, I have a pretty good relationship with my husband, so I'm trying to pick on him and I can't. What? Oh,
that's not a bad problem to have.
That's not a bad problem to have. Okay, so say this. I am gonna pick on him because I'm allowed. There's one thing that Mark does, and I'm not gonna talk about it, but one thing that he does that drives me crazy. Now say it's 5 or 10% of his personality. 90% of his personality is awesome. Am I going to choose to let this 10% that kind of annoy me and ignore the other 90 amazing percent?
Oh, that's a great analogy, because we can all think of family and friends that there's something that they eat with their mouth open. I don't know, something that that you would clarify as, or as obnoxious. or annoying, and
Mhm.
but what's the rest of it look like? And that's something that people can put into perspective for themselves, because if you're choosing to focus on the negatives, that's a whole nother conversation. Never
Mhm.
mind just making the choices part that we're talking about today.
Mhm.
Where is your focus? If you're focusing on the negative here, what other parts of your life are you focusing on the negatives too? And those choices could be as
Absolutely.
simple as just go outside for a second.
Mhm.
Go walk around the house. Go walk around the block. Go outside and for 10 minutes. We're not looking
Yep.
at, taking the afternoon off and throwing off everybody's schedule, but step outside. Put a coat on first if you have to. There's so many excuses that we can come up with when we're trying to make these choices towards happiness. It's easy not to
Right.
do
And
it.
to your point, if it's sunny out and you go out for 5, 10 minutes, the sunlight is uplifting. All of
Mhm,
a sudden it uplifts your mood. You just, and not just you like the way you feel like internally, but externally you smile.
mhm.
It's kind of hard to be like, oh, and then to the weather, blah, 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 when it's sunny and nice out. I'm sure looking at myself again, I'm going to regret making that face.
It's a good
Um,
face for radio.
it's a great face for radio. All right. So again, it's, choices, the choices that you make can either bring you closer to happiness and joy, or it can take you in the opposite direction.
Mhm,
So be aware of your choices. Um, Along those lines, the second thing I think of is, we talk about this quite a bit, is when it comes to goals, right? We've talked about this many, many times. Um, how many times does somebody say, okay, especially around the new year, we have these conversations, right? I'm going to work out 5 days a week. Well, if you're a person who's never worked out 5 days a week, that's a lofty goal. It's kind
You've
of a
never worked
dumb
out
goal,
1 day a week, 5 is hard.
right? So the goal here should be, or could be, instead I'm gonna work out 1 day a week and get that, under your belt. And then when you do that, like, you can be happy. Like, you've achieved something, you've accomplished something, as opposed to thinking, oh, I didn't get a workout today. So, well, still got 5 days. I've still got 6 days. Well, I didn't do it again Tuesday. Well, it's Wednesday. I still have 5 days. But then if you miss one more day, then there's only 4 days left. You can work out those 4 days, but if you don't, or even if you do, you kind of go, oh, well, I didn't work out 5 days.
You're mentally
And
behind
rather than
already.
feeling accomplished that you did 4 or 3,
Mhm. Yeah.
you're disappointed, and frustrated with yourself. So goal setting in this, concept of happiness is really, really important. We talk about the SMART goals and everything like that. Um, Usually, we talk about it in business, but much more often. But this is something to really put into perspective when you're in a place where you're unhappy and you want to change the way you feel,
Mhm.
about yourself, about your situation, about life. Little steps get you closer. Little forward steps get you closer to a goal, to happiness, than any kind of negative step that's going to bring you backwards.
Hmm.
I think I said that right.
I think you did too. It made
Okay.
sense to me.
Good. And then I think the last thing I would say about this is, progress over perfection. We really are an all or nothing society, especially in the United States.
Mm,
Um,
that's a great point.
and it can only set you up for failure and disappointment. Failure
Mhm.
and disappointment is unhappiness, and it's so far from the spectrum of joy. So progress, a little bit at a time, like I was just saying, one little step at a time.
And if you journal those little steps, you're going to be able to look back and realize what you did. Because if they're just, if
Mhm.
not, I should say just, if they are little steps, it's easy to forget they happened.
Absolutely. There's somebody that I follow, his name is Brian Johnson. He calls all of these little things that these little positive things, he calls them plus ones. And it's kind of funny, when I first read it, I was like, okay, that seems interesting. But it's amazing when you add up during the day all the little positive things that initially you wouldn't have thought of, like you said, but just
Mhm.
those little things, just little plus one. Add them up at the end of the day, add them up at the end of the week, and you will notice, wow, you actually are doing things um, small increments that are actually
Mhm.
bringing you closer to where you want to be.
Fantastic. Denise, thank you so much. Make good choices. Work towards
Make good
happiness.
choices and be happy. Don't worry, be happy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. I am Jeanne Gallagher, and I'm here with our longevity concierge, Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hi, Jeanne. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And we're working through the happiness and joy segments. And we've talked about so many great, well, you have so many great hints for people that are simple and easy to achieve. And there's one more that we might not even consider would be necessary to think about.
Mhm.
What's this one? This is important.
So this is important. When it comes to joy, menopausal women struggle to find joy. Now, when I say menopausal women, I am talking about women probably 40, maybe closer to 45 to about 65. These are women that are experiencing symptoms. And a lot of them don't even know they're having symptoms. We think hot flashes and irregular cycles are kind of like the first signs of menopause, but they're not. The earliest signs actually have nothing to do with that, but they have everything to do with anxiety, loss of joy. Why? Mood swings, irritability, the night sweats and things that happen. Yeah, that really does happen. But the truth is really, your brain is changing as well. So
Those
your
physical
estrogen,
things are easy to recognize.
right.
We're talking
Yep.
about what you're talking about is the, well, on almost non-physical. It's mental, right? But it's non-physical. So we're not sweating, we're not doing all of these things that we go, oh, that's what it is. Oh, that
Mm-hmm.
super sucks.
Right.
It's our habits are changing, and what we consider normal is different than what it was 10 years prior.
Right. And the anxiety and the mood swings, that actually is a perimenopausal. Those are really perimenopausal symptoms. So a lot of times, especially nowadays, women are having children a little bit later,
Mhm.
right? Not so much in the Midwest where I live, but all of my friends on the coasts, they had children later. Um, my one of my closest friends, she was 38 when she had her last child, and when we consider that progesterone starts dipping at 35, she was already perimenopausal, right? So these are symptoms that women are having from the time they're 40, and it may never really get better because they're not understanding that it is a effect of estrogen starting to decline, right? Estrogen regulates our moods, it regulates our emotions and our brain function. When we talk about brain function, more and more we're talking about cognitive function in the way of Alzheimer's and dementia. dementia, but our brain is functioning all the time now. And your brain is different when the serotonin, the dopamine, and the cortisol levels all start kind of getting wonky, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we know as we get older, estrogen and progesterone are dropping, but the hormones, the other hormones that come into play here that really affect our happiness and joy or serotonin. There's that happiness, the happiness hormone. Dopamine, which is a motivational booster. This is one of those that kind of drives us to do the things that we loved. And we've talked about that in another segment where, someone doesn't even know what they like to do anymore.
Yeah.
That's not just something that, it's actually a physical thing that's happening to them, because they may know, but they just don't have the drive that they used to have. The other one, of course, is cortisol. Estrogen kind of keeps cortisol in check. So if that's dropping, your cortisol levels are kind of bouncing around, but they're getting higher and higher. And again, as we go through menopausal years, that's when the sweats come in, and the erratic sleep. And if we're not sleeping, our cortisol levels are going up even more. If your stress hormone is going crazy, is going through the roof, it's really hard to find a place where happiness and joy lives.
That makes sense. And this is an important topic to touch on for people to hear, because there's more conversations about menopause than there ever has been. However, when you're connecting the happiness, joy piece to it, doesn't usually come into conversation.
No, and it's absolutely connected. And this is one of the challenges that most of us have when we go to a doctor. Even our OBGYNs, they're not trained in menopause. They're definitely not trained in happiness. Let's be real. A doctor's job is to fix you when you're broken.
Right.
Right. And if there's something like your mood and possibly some anxiety, they want to fix that. Right. And how do they fix that? They fix it by giving you an antidepressant. And if you've ever read the package insert of an antidepressant, years ago, I worked for Eli Lilly Pharmaceuticals, and I sold Prozac to physicians. I guess I didn't really sell it. I offered it. That was my job. Right? Prozac was one of the products that was in my repertoire. And for those people who have true diagnosed depression and anxiety, these are great medications. If the challenge with your mood is because your estrogen and progesterone levels are declining, the antidepressant is not going to help you. It's actually going to make it, or can make it, worse.
That's going to mask it.
Yeah. So any of that unexplained and anxiety, I've never experienced the anxiety piece. Like, that's not something. My sister, on the other hand, every now and then she'll say, like she kind of felt like she was having a panic attack. And I was like, why? This was before I understood what was really happening. And I'm like, she talks in front of people all the time. Why this day was she having a bit of a panic attack? Well, she was 48 years old. Hormones can do a little funky thing. So, it's really important to, and this again is where I'm going to come up with journaling. We love journaling, don't we, Jeanne?
Well, it's a necessary evil for some of us. And for some of us, it's a necessary love. I challenge with it, but I'm trying to embrace it more.
This is where...
Maybe that's why I keep talking about it, because I'm trying to convince myself that I should be doing it more. Because I know it's good, and I know it has a purpose.
But you just said something. I know I should do it. If it's something you should do, it's not something you enjoy. Maybe there's a better way to do it.
There we go. We can find that. And if anybody's listening has a suggestion, send it this way.
Yes. anyway, back to the point of that I want to make. If you're noticing this, like all of a sudden, you're starting to notice, your mood swings are a little funky, you're irritable more often than not, you have your loss of motivation, your joy is just gone, and you feel disconnected to the people you love and the things that you enjoy doing, this is a conversation to have with a professional. It's a
Yeah.
conversation to have with somebody like me as a coach, because I understand where you could be, what could be going on, and I could then direct you in a way that of just a regular doctor, just kind of going to your PC. They're not going to really know how to help you. I can help you write the answers, or write the answers, ask the questions to your doctors that are going to help you in the best way.
And what's nice
So,
is there's not the shame of asking for help now that there used to be 10 years ago.
absolutely, absolutely. And, menopause is stressful, aging is stressful, we for men and for women, every couple of years there's something else going on, right? But I do believe that there is a way for us to better understand what's going on, take control of it, reclaim our energy, reclaim our sense of self, most importantly, our sense of joy.
Great. Denise, thank you as always. And
You're
Denise will bring you happiness and joy. If anybody needs a little shot of that, get in touch with Denise because she has great tips. And thank you so much for these segments.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, Jeanne.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show is sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me, and if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.